Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends, Wooden Railway Adventures, Episode 19, James's Tender Trouble. The Flying Scotsman had come to visit Sodor, and all the engines were very excited about his visit. However, some engines that were new to the railway didn't like it because they didn't know that the Flying Scotsman was very important to all railways. However, all engines that had been on the railway for a long period of time, such as Gordon, Mavis, and Edward, knew how important the Flying Scotsman was, so they respected him. One day, however, James had puffed into the yard, and he was in a bad mood. Henry had been late, and Sir Thomas had blamed him. He was very cross, and he didn't want to talk. However, when he saw the Flying Scotsman in the yard, he became very annoyed. "Ugh," he said, "is the green monster still here?" Gordon was shocked. "Don't talk to my brother that way," he said. "He's very important, you know." "I don't care how important he is. He's still a double-tender engine." Mavis was now very cross. "You don't talk to him like that. He is a very special engine, and he knows a lot more than you." Now James was getting very cross indeed. "Who cares?" he said. "He's just a green monster and a double-tender engine. Like I said, he has no importance to all railways." "Yes, he does," said Edward. "He's the foundation of all railways." "Oh, who cares?" he said. "Maybe a red engine like me could be the foundation." "That'd be so nice," he said. Now Gordon was crosser than ever. "Leave, James," he said. "You're just insulting my brother, and I don't want you to do that while he's here. Now be off with you." And James puffed away. "I'm sorry James was teasing you," said Gordon. "It's all right," said the Flying Scotsman. When I first came to my old railway, all the other engines teased me too." "It won't happen again," said Mavis. "But I was wondering, I wish we could make James realize how important you really are to all railways." "Oh," said Edward, I have the perfect idea." "What is it?" asked the engines. "Okay, here's what we'll do." And he whispered it to the engines. James had puffed out of the yard. He said. "Gordon thinks he's the boss around here. I'll show him." He put his coat in his side, and he stormed back to the shed. He puffed into the shed, and he was in a very bad mood. "Ugh," he said, "my day's been very rough. I don't know about yours, but I don't like my life right now." Percy and Donald didn't say a word. "Oh, geez," he said. "Here goes James, all about his life story." "Stop it," he said. "It's not funny." Yeah, it is. Anyway, James, you can talk about with yourself, but Percy and I are going to bed. We have it early in the morning tomorrow." "Whatever," he said. And James decided to go to bed, too. Darkness soon fell on Sodor, quicker than expected, and James fell asleep. That night, Edward puffed up with some workmen. They hopped out. "Okay," said Edward, "stick to the plan. And remember, do it quickly and quietly. We don't want to awake him." "Okay," said the workmen, and they got out and set right to work. The next morning, James awoke, and his pistons were very sore. "Oh," he said, "I'm glad tomorrow is gone, and today is a brand new day." He said, "I can't wait to pull my train." When he pulled out of the shed, though, Percy and Donald started laughing. "What's so funny?" he said. "There's nothing to laugh about." "Oh, yes, there is," said Donald. "Look at your tenders." "Tenders," said James. "I only have one tender, and you know it. The Flying Scotsman is the only engine on the railway that has two tenders. You should know that by now. Now stop teasing me. I'm very annoying." "No, look," said Donald. "You do have two tenders. You look very funny." Now James was cross. "Oh, what trick are you playing?" But just then he realized it. He pulled out of the shed, and he did have two tenders. "Oh, no," said James. Whoever engine has done this to me." But just then he thought a little harder. "Ugh," he said. "Mavis, Edward, Gordon," he yelled. "Ugh, I need to go speak to them." He pulled out of the shed, and all the engines laughed at them. "It looks like we have another Flying Scotsman in town," said Arthur. James ran into the yard. He was very cross. "Ugh," he said, "I can't believe that these engines could do such a horrible thing to me." "Why did you do this to me?" asked James. "We just wanted to prove a point," said Gordon, "that The Flying Scotsman is not useless. I hope that you understand how important he is now. Oh, yes, said James. I understand how important he is. Now get this extra tender off me. I look ridiculous. And by the way, how'd you find an extra tender? Easy, said Edward. The workmen took mine during the night, and they painted it red like yours. Now you can have an extra tender, but how will you move around? Oh, that's easy, said Edward. Sir Thomas has given me a day off. In the meantime, you can get used to your second tender. What do you mean? Asked James. And by the way, James said to his driver, get this thing off me. His driver hopped down, but then he realized something. James, he said, it's bolted to your other tender. What do you mean? Asked James. This is what we're trying to tell you, he said. You can wear that tender around for a couple of days, said Sir Topham Hatt, and see how well you feel. Now James was very cross. He said, I can't believe you guys did this to me. Well, said Mavis, we just wanted to prove a point. And hopefully you would learn your lesson. And now, James has definitely learned his lesson indeed.